All right, I've already learned of 5 facts I didn't know about, and I've known you for a long time. Welcome to the podcast. Cheers.
They're great.
Let's talk about your events. Best events I've seen. First of all, I don't know this. I don't remember. I know you do great events, but did you ever do events? I forget. Before this career?
I was not an events person. I was just a social person and always was the organizer of parties and things.
Yeah.
When we got into real estate and I wanted to start that one obligatory client appreciation party a year.
Yeah.
And it started out in my condo in DuPont. And then it went to 2 a year. And it was still, as I was growing the practice, we weren't touching everybody that we could. And so it's 2 parties into, then we added in wine plus a bus, which has now been done for 20 years.
Yeah.
We started with 1 bus, we're now up to 3. We charter 3 buses, head out to Wine Country, Virginia for 3 different wineries, tastings all day.
Are they the same ones? Same wineries?
We mix them up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Last year we used Firefly Cellars for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was very quaint and intimate with a nice backyard.
Nice.
Type of setting, and that's where we actually served lunch then too. We used to create box lunches in the morning of. My team was up to lunches.
Wow.
We have grown into the let's get a caterer.
Yeah.
And have it catered, which is
nice.
fantastic because it's easier for us. So it's a well-oiled machine. 3 wineries, lunch at the middle. At the end, on the way home, then we have box. As a result of COVID, now we box everything, but we have a boxed breakfast in the morning on the way out. We have a boxed hors d'oeuvres on the way home.
So well done. Most crazy story from this event over the last 20 years.
There was their little driveway with a bridge was under construction.
Yeah.
And so it really dipped down, and these are big, 60 passenger. And the one bus that was brand new came down, and the bottom got stuck going up onto the bridge. And it just didn't go fast enough. If they had, but as a result, we got stuck
on the bridge.
On going up to the bridge, and the new bumper on the back of the bus was on the ground. We had to get a wrecker to pull us out. So all of the wine that we had purchased to drink on the way home, plus anybody who had wine that they had purchased. I mean, we literally, the sun went down, it was dark. We were drinking in this winery's field.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do to survive. You gotta hydrate.
We did, exactly. That's probably the craziest and one of the most memorable.
Yeah, that's it. Let's go where.
We are 3rd post-pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's becoming another staple of the year.
Breweries out in DC.
And we take old trolleys on this one.
Nice.
This year we're doing, and then Atlas in Ivy City and Proper's brewing facility in Brooklyn.
That's good.
And we serve Andy's Pizza for lunch on those and beer.
Yeah.
And then sometimes picks up soft pretzels for a snack in the afternoon. And then 2nd year this year that we've done the Capital Candy Jar.
Okay.
Which is a little candy shop up on the hill.
Yep.
One of the owners was a client of mine. They open up their chocolate conveyor belt and put out a buffet of anything that should be covered in chocolate.
Okay.
And then anybody, kids to adults, go in and pick their little buffet of what they want, put it through the chocolate fountain. Excess chocolate bounces off on the bouncy conveyor belt, and then right before it goes into the chiller, you get to put on sprinkles and decorations, and then it goes through the chiller and out the other side.
It's good work. How many people go to that event?
That one this year we had probably about 50 or 60.
Yeah.
And that's a good one because while we do have wine and beer with us, it's not a drinking event.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a kid event.
So looking back at everything you've done from a marketing perspective, by far the most effective thing are the events?
Definitely the events, and then also our celebratory dinners after.
Tell us about those.
Typically what we did it a lot post or pre-pandemic, trying to get back into it now post-pandemic, now that we can all go out to dinner and all of that. But take our buyers or sellers out to dinner after. Just everybody's relaxed and you just get to have a nice social time. And if they were referred to us by someone, then take the referral source as well.
So those are group dinners, or you're taking out each individual?
But that's an actual interesting concept.
Yeah.
Of grouping it, of who closed in that month or in that period would be another interesting.
So you're doing lots of dinners.
Doing lots of dinners.
And those are almost always the day of settlement? Or?
No.
Okay.
It's always after. It's hard to do if the seller has left town.
Yeah.
So they don't usually work if the seller's moving to a different state.
Sure.
But if seller is moving around town, then we can pick those up. And if buyers, though, we wait until after they get moved.
Okay.
Because I want it to be a stress environment. They're in their new place. They're not sitting here constantly thinking about what if? Like I've got someone who's on a post-settlement occupancy that ends tonight, and they get to take their house after a month and a half of waiting tomorrow, and they're just super excited, but they've been calling me all the time, like, are we sure it's going to happen? Like, are they going to get out and stuff? And so I don't want to take someone to dinner when they're just preoccupied about that.
Yeah, makes sense.
I want them to be comfortable and moved in and settled.
Is the dinner location, does it change? Do you have a favorite? What do you got?
I certainly have my favorites.
Yeah.
But it depends on where located, really. Like, I just did one in Annapolis because they were in Annapolis. I had moved from here to Annapolis. If it's someone in downtown DC, I have a couple staples, but I sometimes ask the people too, like, is there a restaurant you've been dying to try? So it just depends.
Nice. And this is why we do the podcast. All right, I've already learned of 5 facts I didn't know about, and I've known you for a long time. Welcome to the podcast. Cheers.
They're great.
Good to have you. Good to see you. Before you got in real estate, you were in a different industry. My research says you were IT.
IT, tech consulting.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that, and tell me about like the skills. How did you go from IT tech consulting to real estate, and what of those skills carried forward and have worked out well for you?
Undergrad math and computer science degrees, right into the tech world up here. Then left for my MBA, came back into the tech world. So total time in the tech world was about 10 years. Last couple of years of my tech life, I was still working part-time until the very last 2 or 3 years, and then I went out on my own and had a small software company. Woke up one day and just decided I absolutely hated what I was doing. Custom development software, it's great. Like, I loved the design phase, working with my clients and designing what the system was going to look like. All of that was great, doing all the requirements, documents, everything. Boom, you create the software, it goes in, and a lot of times you can test it as much as you want in a beta test environment, but you're not going to catch all the bugs until it's in production. And it's that point where your clients used to be your best friends. And friends
that makes sense.
Because it's in their production environment, there's bugs, and all of a sudden, they're all stressed out about that. And I was just like, I just don't want this buggy kind of life anymore.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
What came out of that and what came out of that was the consulting side of things. I love the people aspects of dealing with people. I just didn't want to deal with computers. I wasn't making their life better anymore.
Right.
Their work life might have been slightly better because of our computer system, but they would go home at night and their life was no better than it was before they came to work.
Yep.
So I wanted to do something to help people in their personal lives. Coming out of that and doing research in grad school in an entrepreneur class that was getting me into that personal part of people's lives. I had wanted to start a gym with an attached health food restaurant. Didn't have one in DC before I left for grad school.
Yeah.
When I came back, there was this place on U Street called Results the Gym that had health bar attached to it.
Right.
In my research in grad school, it also said that the health food restaurant never makes it because who wants to eat where they just worked out? The only thing that kept health bar alive was the Monday night half-price burger nights where anybody who was gay in the city would be seen. And they moved it to Fridays, and no respectable gay man is having burgers on a Friday.
That is good.
So that ended up folding as well, which is what my research said it was going to do.
Yeah.
But coming out of it, I want to do something in people's personal lives. And just
by the way, is that place still around? The one that you mentioned.
Results closed, but became Vita.
Okay. So your research was correct.
The research was correct.
Yeah.
The health food restaurant's not going to make it.
Yeah.
But the gym could.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a seminar in real estate and came out of that knowing I want to do something that helped people in their personal lives, and said there's nothing more personal than helping people find homes.
Did you always have a passion for real estate?
No, not at all.
No?
I came from a medical family where my parents bought a house 2 years before I was born, and I just sold it 54 years later, about a year and a half ago.
Right, okay.
So no, I didn't know anything about real estate, I didn't know what it was like to move because I never had that experience except for going to college and then coming to DC. And that's much different than moving a family kind of thing. But when I bought my first condo, it was before I was in real estate, and I definitely was a clueless buyer. And after that and going through the switch, I was like, you know what? Nobody should be as clueless as I was when I was buying my first condo.
That's a good point.
And so, boom, here we are.
I like it, and here you are. So most of your business in the DC area, I would say, is it mostly DC only, or but you're licensed?
60% DC and 40% split between Maryland and Virginia, depending on who's taking me where.
Why is DC struggling so much?
I don't think it's just DC.
Yeah, it's true.
In talking to people from other parts of the country and things, it's not just DC. It's just that it's, part of the thing is our local news is also everybody else's national news.
Yeah.
So it's going to hit home more on a whole nationwide basis in terms of anything that happens in DC. But from what I've been talking to other people, it's in lots of cities.
Yeah, it is.
And I think we're just in a strange time. I think there's definitely been a rift in the country of the past several years of the different presidents that we've had. And I just think some part of that is just some of how our country was designed, that we're going to have these times periodically, and that's what also helps us get forward. We were designed to move slow, have some radical changes that are gonna like be tamed down, and then just slowly continue.
Yeah. What do you see for DC like give me next 10 years? Like, you think it's just we're in a time period right now, and it'll eventually we're in just a cycle? Or do you see?
We're in one of two things.
Yeah.
In college, in my Western Civ class, you had to read The Rise and Fall of Great Powers or Great Nations, one of the two. Forget which it was, and it's interesting. It's like any great empire has had their rise into power and hold it, and then eventually they do fall off and are no longer the powerful of the world. At some point, that will happen to us. Is it going to happen, in our first 250, 300 years? Yeah. Hopefully not, but that's a long ride as it was. Or is it just the cyclical change of upheaval and just people getting sick of the political BS and climate in the country and going through that kind of change, and it'll eventually calm back down.
Yeah, I like that. And the book was called what?
The Rise and Fall of, I think it's The Rise and Fall of Great Nations.
Okay. Nice. So, you get involved in a lot of things. So yeah, sure, there's some events, there's real estate, there's IT tech consulting, but let's not forget about how Matt Paulson's going to model your new apparel business.
That would be Jimmy Trendy. I would love to see Matt in some Jimmy Trendy.
All right, so we're good at Photoshop. So ding, we can pop, we can get to, there's Matt. Yeah. We'll do that for the podcast. Tell us about that business.
So that is founded and created by my husband. He, when I met him, was in grad school getting his master's in international marketing down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And his thesis for his master's degree was the marketing of Jimmy Trendy.
Yep.
And after he got up here and we got married, I said, you know what, if that's what you really want to do, let's go for it. And get it started. So he's the creator and designer of pretty much, he has a couple collaboration prints that he does, but otherwise they're all his original designs in swimwear and underwear. Cuts from the swim thong to the swim brief to the swim shorts.
To the one that Matt Paulson will be wearing, which will be,
and then for a cruise that we did in February that we were a sponsor of, we also had a swim thong.
Okay, swim jacket. And so the cruise events work once again, I'm assuming. Is the events the best thing that's happened so far for this line of the business?
Events are good for that as well. For example, we're going to Rehoboth Beach this coming week, or Memorial Day weekend, to have a pop-up Jimmy Trendy shop at one of the gay bars there, Aqua. And those types of pop-up shops that we've done throughout the country are huge sellers.
Yeah.
And then we also do some of the Pride festivals around.
Nice. All right, so you've talked about world-class customer experience in some of the marketing I've seen. Do you know about this? Based on my research.
I hope so.
Like, when you think about that for your team and yourself and the experience you're creating, like, what does that look like?
I mean, the biggest and most important thing, I think, when we say that too, is you got to come in and make the buyer or the seller, especially the buyer, when they're coming to town and they're looking for a new place or their first time home buyers and they've never done this before, making it a comfortable environment where they will be able to let you get inside their heads to know what they want, and that they're comfortable with you so that they understand that you are there for their best interest and you're there to support them.
How do you get comfort? What do you do? Do you have tricks to get people comfortable with the whole situation and just getting to know you?
One, getting to know us.
Yeah.
And I had once talked to my mom when I was getting started into this business, and it was shortly after I had come out, and I was like, Mom, like, that's something that I have to quickly figure out, is it something I can talk about or not with new clients?
Yeah.
This was 20 years ago, so the world was a much different place as well. But it's just those kinds of things of letting them in to see you as a person as well, and not just having a wall up of, okay, this is just all about them, and you have to let them get to know you as well. As a person, as your experiences, I always share my experiences in real estate as well in terms of my own personal buying and selling. And then just being knowledgeable and being able to answer their questions, but also let them know that it doesn't matter if they have to ask that question 5 times before they really get a gist of it, or that there's never too many questions to ask.
Right.
And then also just, for me, it's we're not going to just see 5 houses and you're going to pick one. And it's not just, like the TV reality shows where, you see 3 houses and you pick one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, could it happen in a day? Sure. Has it happened with me and clients in a day? Yes. Has it happened with me and clients in 2 years? Yes.
Yeah.
It's not going to be something where it's going to be, okay, now we've seen all this stuff, you got to pick one and buy it.
Yeah.
You're going to walk in, it's going to talk to you. I'm here to make sure it's a solid property and that there's not really issues to it, but you're there as the buyer to say, hey, if I could come home to this and make this my home, I'd be so excited.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell them on the buying side. Hey, that's what we're looking for you to come in and just be like a kid in front of a wall of sugar in a candy shop. If I could come home to this every day, I would just be super excited to be living.
Yep. You know, I feel like there's a lot of changes in the industry right now. You know, you've got the NAR lawsuit, you've got a variety of different things, you've got different technology that's out there. 10 years from now, I mean, how different is it going to be than what we have today?
I think the way we do business, because the way that we have done business from when I first got into this, and I used to have to take physical paper and pen to people's houses and have them sign the offer, to now it's all DocuSign, and you know, potentially I think even down into settlement and stuff being a lot more electronic is going to be what's really the big change. There's nothing that is going to replace physically going and looking at a house.
Yeah. How many people are buying homes through virtual tours?
I've never had any.
Yeah. Okay.
And even if I do have overseas clients that are looking to buy something, you know, if it's an investor type thing and they're looking to buy something, then it's just a little bit more on me of like, hey, yeah, this will be a really great rental. You're never going to live in it anyway. So as long as we get the numbers, then it's great. But if it's someone coming, they'll either have someone that they know in the city that I will end up taking with them.
Sure.
You know, we certainly have done video tours, but typically it still gets reduced down to another human other than myself coming in that they know as well to look at it. And just like this weekend, I had people out for the first time, and, you know, they were looking at pictures and things, but then we saw some of the stuff that was still active from when we started looking at pictures and online listings. Yeah. And it happens every single time. People are like, oh, wow, that didn't look anything like the pictures. Sure. And that's where a picture is a picture, but unless you are in the business and you know how to read those pictures, you're never gonna. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, because kitchen counter's right here, and then the couch ends right here. Yeah. But the way the pictures are taken, you can't tell that unless you really, really know what you're looking for.
So I guess pictures do matter to get you in the door. But at the end of the day, if your pictures are too good, it actually can hurt you. Is that in a sense, right? Like, oh, I thought this house was going to be this, and this, but you know, right?
Pictures can absolutely, and that's where I'm always like the photographers that we use, which is now my husband, who does all of our listing photography and floor plans and
available to hire for other people.
Available to hire for other people as well. Trendy photographic.
Yeah.
It is. I'd never want them to be distorted in any fashion. Like I don't want that wide-angle lens that makes something look huge when it's not.
Yep.
And I just want the proper pictures in the same way. You know, one of the things that I sometimes get the stuff where it's Unit 1 or Unit B or Unit T, which are all basement or terraces, and you know, whatever agent has taken the pictures, there's no pictures of a window. But it looks fantastic because the windows are this big and way up here. Yeah. And so they have no pictures of windows, and then people don't realize that it's a basement unit. Like, you can't hide that fact when it walks in, so don't hide it in the pictures.
Yeah. And now that we know virtual tours are not a thing, they're going to come see it, so you might as well be transparent. Yeah. Right. We're always mixing it up here, Tom, at our Get Real Estate podcast. We try different questions from time to time. We try different formats. We make people drink sometimes. Sometimes we don't. All right. So rapid fire. The first thing you look at when you enter a home.
The openness of the living space, followed very closely next to quality of construction if it's a renovation project, because you can tell that from the front door.
Now, that's very interesting, right? Because there's a lot of people, I'm just going to do a house flip. It's like, that guy over there is doing his first house flip, and I'm going to buy it. Give me some signs of what you can tell if it's good or bad construction.
I just look at door trim, around, baseboard trim, things like that. You can tell right away. Also, as soon as you step in that front door, what kind of material did they use for the floor covering? If it's if it's LVP, that's great. If it's a nice one, if it's a, bad one, you can tell as soon as you.
Yeah. I had the worst floor ever in San Diego at the house we built. When I say we built, it's like, hey, sir, you build this house. And he's like, oh, I'll do it very cheap. And he did.
And you get what you pay for.
Like, man, that thing was warped, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen.
But I've got, I've been doing a lot of renovations as well. Yeah. For sellers. And then we're going to get ready to start doing our own flipping as well. But I do a lot of renovations for sellers. Yeah. And I've got my solid crew, and I've got my solid products that,
Worst home decor trend you've seen in 2024?
Gold.
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 Tell me more.
Brass went out for a reason.
Yep.
And the gold fixtures now are nothing more than just a matte brass.
Yeah.
And, on my way here, I was looking at it, and I was in my own bathroom that has brushed nickel, and I was like, brushed nickel stands the test of time. It's like light gray walls and things like that, millennium type of thing.
Will that ever go out?
No, I think white is just open and cheery and brings in light.
And that's the thing. Oh, we had gray walls and we have short ceilings, and I'm a giant. So we went with white walls, white cabinets, and man, it feels so much more open. That is a true thing.
Yeah, and the white's always going to bring in light. And other than one client that I've had who didn't really care how dark it was in the unit, or in the house, everybody else is like, light is important to me. Well, white is always going to bring in light.
No, fair point. Sell in the spring or fall?
Either.
What about winter?
In DC and the DMV, other than Christmas week to New Year's week, type of thing, I wouldn't hold it up just because of the season.
Yeah.
If the seller is ready to go, it's going to do perfectly fine.
Yeah.
August is the only other time that I typically shy off of if I can, but I've had places that I've listed the end of August and they've sold in a weekend.
And, if you have less people in the market, right? Right? I don't know,
Fewer
creates
sellers,
more demand.
fewer buyers, you can say as well, but it just takes one buyer.
Yeah. Instagram or LinkedIn for social networking?
I have two different answers.
Yeah.
How you just asked it for social networking, 100% Instagram.
Yeah.
When I was in my tech days,
Yeah.
I'd say LinkedIn 100%, because you're more there trying to get business solutions and things like that for business in your job.
Yeah.
If it is business networking in terms of networking to our client base and trying to grow things like that for us, I would probably say Instagram more, because more people are out there really. I also think that LinkedIn is just the same thing, like, oh yeah, let me put my resume out on LinkedIn to see who picks me up for a new job type of thing.
How much business networking are you doing? You've had a nice career, 20 plus years. You're still out there, bringing in the business. You're not just all referral based at this point.
Oh, we've been 100% referral based.
Okay,
but
you're still nourishing the relationships.
But it's also like on Instagram and stuff like that. It's still people in your network seeing you.
Yep.
And some of our Instagram stuff are videos of showcase of neighborhoods and tell me the plan, which is a fun couple things that we've done around town of, hey, this is what you could do for a couple hours. But then this past weekend, I was great uncle to my great niece. Yeah. And had pictures out there of updating people of, hey, this is my date for the weekend.
Yes,
and then
I think I saw that. Yeah.
At the end of the weekend, I said, update, this is how it's been going. And we got home Saturday night after open house. Yeah. And she was a great open house attendant, had zero nap day. She fell asleep on the way to a garden party at 4:30 where she was supposed to have napped at 1. We get home after garden party, feed her, give her a bottle, and boom, put her in her crib, and she was out.
Easy. Yeah. Great little teammate.
Yeah, it was fantastic. There people are seeing, a whole different side of you.
Well, that's what I was going to say on the video front, because I'm seeing more and more video from you. So give me, because you've mentioned a couple themes you have or ongoing series. What are those?
Our showcase of neighborhoods, we pick a neighborhood and introduce the neighborhood by any one of the agents on our team. And then we show you basically a 30-second video of what's around in that neighborhood with then voiceover of whatever agent did the intro. Just explaining what's around in the neighborhood. So we're going to be doing that throughout the entire DMV. Yep. We've concentrated mostly on DC right now as we're getting started. And then we have Tell Me the Plan, which is just hey, you've got 3-4 hours in a day around DC. What are you going to do for the day? Right. And, we walk through, here's what you could do of where we're walking around. Like the first one was on the National Mall and walked all over the mall and then ended up walking into a restaurant right off the mall. Yeah. Old Ebbitt Grill. And this is where you're going to end.
That's cool. The neighborhood, the tours. I mean, you think about it. If you're looking to buy a house, it's so valuable. And I'm seeing different videos like this getting tens of thousands of views, right? Because people are like, look, I want you to tell me everything about this. So it sounds like you're on the right path with that one.
And that's what we're really trying to do, is just that way people can have a 30-second clip and we may dive down into further explanations, and we just took one of our showcase of neighborhoods a little bit different of a spin in terms of just some area gyms. Yep. And it was more about some gyms around the area than any specific neighborhood.
Yep. Worst real estate cliche you've heard of?
2, and they go hand in hand. Marry the house, date the raid.
I think I've heard you say it before.
Which goes hand in hand with, there is no millennial that even gives a about what happened in 1980s.
Sure.
Or that the interest rates are 18%. So, you know, when I look at both of those, I'm like, the interest rates are the interest rates and they're here to stay. You know, gone, if we would, I don't think that we'll ever see a 3% interest rate in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Again, like those were great times, but I think they're gone and
should go.
And they're not coming back.
Yeah.
So I think people have to get off of this. When rates come down, you can refi. Sure, like everybody knows that. Yeah, you can refi, but the rates are 6s and 7s, and that's what they're going to be. And I think buyers are slowly getting back used to that. Of that's where they're going to be.
I think they really are. I mean, like the last 60 days, most deals we've ever done. And this is including, you know, a couple years ago when the rates were at 3.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. It's that I think that we need to just stop. Rates are going to come back down because they just might not.
Yeah, they might not. Actually, we are preparing for high rates for multiple years.
Yeah.
You know, because like you can't. It's just not. You can't prepare for the good times. You got to prepare for the bad.
Right.
You know.
And I mean, I've not gone back in history to look and see when the last time we had 3% interest rates were, but I don't think it was anywhere in my lifetime.
It wasn't. And I actually went back because I was judging to see how long the rates would be high for. There was a time period, I think it was like, and I don't have, it's not exact, but it was around 15 straight years of rates over 7. So like, that's straight. Okay. So now everyone's like, oh, they're going to go down. It's like, I hope it goes down. But let's just say it's a third of that. 5 years. Yeah. We're in like year 2, year 3 right now. We still got plenty of time, possibly, right?
We got plenty of time, and when I first got into real estate, the rates were, I mean, I remember when my first client got a 4.5, and it was like, this is obscene. Like, nobody's ever going to get an interest rate lower than that.
Yep.
It teaches you a lesson as well, because when I bought my first place, the agent that I used at the time said, oh, I didn't need to see this other place because it was already overpriced. Well, this was 2001.
That's the nuts, right? People want to get to talk to you if they need the apparel business, if they need the photography business, if they need you to plan events for them, or need you as a real estate agent. How can they get a hold of
you? Easy. Cell phone. Everybody has one of those. Everything goes to the same place, either my cell phone number, 202-255-2844, or through our website, buyandselldc.com, all spelled out, or tom@buyandselldc.com.
It's great to see you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Glad you could make it on this.